So in this segment, I wanted to discuss Andrew Marr and the other host of another LBC host, Ben Kentish, talking about the state of the UK in terms of poverty and the diseases coming back. I mean, this is madness.
Poverty. The true picture all around us, day in, day out, is a national disgrace. Today, the Joseph Rowntree Foundation produced its 2024 UK Poverty Report. This is good work, and I'm going to give you some highlights because I think we all need to hear them. Since last year's report, the Rowntree researchers say they have found even more evidence of the desperate measures that households are having to take to get by under the high tides of insecurity that have washed over more and more people.
And, you know, the government will always argue, oh, we're trying to encourage people to get into work more and all these kind of other stuff. And, you know, they're threatening to cut benefits again or welfare again in order to fund a tax cut, which is absolutely ludicrous, in my opinion. But point being is, like, people that are kind of lower earners or even middle earners don't make enough money, especially with the government not increasing tax thresholds. So it doesn't matter that even if you got a pay increase, you're still paying, you'll be paying more effectively in tax. People are just struggling to live. You know, food costs are going up. With the new Brexit checks coming in, it's going to go up even more. And people aren't able to get a varied diet and get the vitamins they need to, you know, ward off bloody Victorian era illnesses.
Basic facts. In the last year for which firm figures are available, 2021 to 22, more than 1 in 5 people, that's 22%, were living in poverty, including 8 million working age adults and 4 million, or nearly 3 in 10, children.
3 in 10 children. I mean, that's embarrassing for a developed nation to have so many children living in poverty. It's just embarrassing. And when the government did try and offer support to some of these families, they offered those care packages, which they apparently paid £30 for, and it was one of the worst things I've seen in my life.
And it gets worse. Because of those 6 million people were considered to be in very deep poverty with an income far below the standard poverty line. I hope you agree that this is deeply shameful. Now, you know, I am interested in illegal migration.
I have no interest in that. I really don't care. Like, as long as it's not security risk, like, it's not one of my top 10 priorities, I'll be honest.
I'm quite interested in all those woke and gender issues, and I'm well
could not care less
aware of climate change. But when it comes to British domestic politics, there is nothing, absolutely nothing, that matters as much as this. Come on, you might say, lighten up, Andrew. It's always been a bit like that. Poor are always with us, all that stuff. Not quite true. Back in the 60s and 70s, poverty levels were at around 14%. That is a lot lower. For people of my generation, if you're trying to think back to the old chaotic 70s, well, levels of poverty today are around 50% higher than they were then.
It's just kind of crazy that we've actually gone backwards. Under the Tories, we've gone completely backwards, and there are more people living in poverty as a percentage, I think, than the different eras where, you know, things were more turbulent. And I think that's partly down to, with the welfare state, you know, being incredibly stingy. I think it's partly due to the fact that workers in this country just simply do not earn enough money. That's one of the fundamental problems, I think. The combination of the two, I think, has led to absolute poverty. This is sad for a so-called developed country. There's more from Kentish. I think this stuff is worse, honestly.
Talking about a country in which there have been 13,000 diagnoses of malnutrition, 15,000 cases of rickets, and more than 100...
Rickets is one. Do you know what? I remember, like, some of the teachers talking about it in school, right? But I've never seen rickets before.
50 cases of scurvy diagnosed in the last 12 months alone.
And with scurvy, you know, that's I think it's a Victorian era illness. It's definitely a pirate era illness, and it's quite easy to fix because the main thing you need is, I think, vitamin C, right? It's down to, I think, predominantly a vitamin C deficiency. But, you know, evidently people can't afford, you know, citrus fruits that have vitamin C. That's the state of the country. That is you know, that's the state of the union, really, when you think about it. People can't afford basic foods, and it's making them malnourished. Bringing back scurvy. Like, are we back in the Victorian era? Honestly, we're just going back. Which the seas being polluted, rivers being polluted. I mean, it's awful, isn't it? You know, poverty doesn't get talked about enough in the UK. The main causes of poverty, honestly, I think people are shamed, and I think the ones that are doing, you know, are making enough money to do okay in life. By okay, I don't mean I have all the luxuries, but, you know, to manage. they'll look at the people below them and say, "Nah, I'm all right, Jack. You know, I'm happy. I'm happy where I am. You know, you need to work hard. You need to buck up, effectively." And I really do hate that mentality.
Now, you're probably thinking, what underdeveloped, poverty-stricken nation do these poor people live in? And the answer, you know where this is going, is ours. This is us. This is our country. This is Britain in 2024, a country where tens of thousands of people are being diagnosed each year, it seems, with Victorian-era diseases of poverty and deprivation.
It's mad. It's all gone backwards. Gone backwards. You know, as a society, you really want to be going forwards. You want to be kind of avoiding Victorian era illnesses, the ones that are very easy to avoid. Like, what the hell is even rickets? Anyways, like, again, that's one I think I've heard stories about people having them in school, things like brittle bones and things like that. But scurvy is one I've heard because it's a common illness pirates had. But people suffering from malnutrition. We've seen stories of people that have been sanctioned by the job centre and other such places that have died of starvation. Like, this is Britain 2024. It's still happening, and this is a conversation a lot of politicians just refuse to have.
And it's getting worse. It's getting far worse. For comparison, the number of people diagnosed with malnutrition in 2010, 3,500. Last year, 13,000, and even that is thought to be an enormous underestimate. Those figures coming from an LBC investigation.
I mean, that would be mostly people who have been hospitalised and diagnosed with malnutrition. What if you're malnourished and you don't end up in the hospital just yet?
They come from a third of NHS trusts in this country, so you can extrapolate that the real figures are 3 times higher. Now, clearly, that begs some pretty major questions. How does a country with the 6th biggest economy in the world end up with tens of thousands of people each year being diagnosed with diseases that we thought or hoped had died out centuries ago?
I can tell you why, because all the wealth is concentrated at the top. That's why the wealth doesn't trickle down. You know, we have, you know, I think there was a study or some sort of report out last year where it said the UK and the US are countries with some rich people, but, you know, lots of poverty. And it is true for the UK, most definitely. For the US, probably true as well. There are some very rich people in the UK, but there are a lot of very poor people in the UK. The wealth is not distributed evenly at all. That's why we're in the mess we're in, and it's only gotten worse with the Conservative government. This is the reason why I hate austerity and anyone who pushes austerity. Why? Because this is what happens. This is a result of austerity, the government cutting back consistently, the government not releasing kind of money for lower earners. It means that you bring back illnesses that should have been gone because people don't have the resources they need to ward off illnesses like scurvy.
Scurvy, rickets, malnutrition. What's happened?
The Tories happen, bro. Let's be real. That's what's caused this mess. And it's sad to see. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Support the channel on Patreon if you can. And hopefully I'll see you in the next one.